Hey everybody, it's Mike for SecurEnvoy. We're back with another educational video. In this video, we're going to be doing the full implementation of the SecurEnvoy Secure Access multi-factor authentication solution. So, as you can see on the screen here, we are in the lab. This is Lab Server 01. We've sort of built a replica of an environment that we thought was sort of similar to what a lot of our customers do and have, some of the things they have. So we've got a couple of domain controllers here at the top. We've got a few servers ready for our Secure Envoy implementation, a couple of database servers, a Windows 10 machine, lots of virtual equipment down here, some Citrix delivery controllers, and that whole business we're going to be getting into in the future video. So we wanted to start out here with the download and the expanded zip files. So we're going to kind of cut right into it. Okay, this video sort of assumes that you've got a Windows 2012, 2016, 2019 server in your environment. It assumes that you've either made the decision whether or not you want to have that server as part of your Active Directory or outside your Active Directory in a work group. It's going to depend largely on where you're going to place that machine and whether or not it's going to go into a demilitarized zone DMZ or whether you're just going to hang on to it internally. Those decisions are architectural ones on your behalf, not necessarily relevant to how our product functions. So first things first, we'll get a quick review of the server just to kind of give you the landscape of the environment that we're working in. This server is in a work group because we've not yet made the decision as to whether or not we want to join the Active Directory. And I wanted to be able to showcase, and show off that it doesn't need to be part of the Active Directory. So SE01 is the server name. We've turned off the IE enhanced security so we can get around the internet. We've enabled RDP. We've still got a DHCP address. This is all pretty typical stuff that an admin would encounter on their way through the build. Make sure you customize these things pursuant to your own internal policies and requirements and standard procedures. In this particular case, my DHCP server is giving out 30-day leases, so I really don't have a problem leaving it dynamically configured for the demo and for the creation of this video. But if this was going to be a production environment, I would have statically assigned that address already. All right, so the next thing, we're just going to take you up to SecurEnvoy.com. And in order to get your hands on the software, pretty simple actually, just click on the Try Us Today, and you can find that link in numerous places around our website. And all you've really got to do is just kind of fill out the form and go down here and check the box and then download the software. As far as integrations go, all the various things that our solution will integrate with are located on the integrations guides page. They're all listed here and documentation to follow. This is, of course, not a complete list. We do integrate with things that are not necessarily in the list. You just can't put everything in the list, but rest assured, if you have a Radius solution in your environment, we certainly will be compliant with that. All right, so moving on, support documentation right here. If you need any as you're going through the process, any of your administrator guides, those types of things, Windows Login Agent guides. We're going to cover all of these, but if you need to refer to the actual documentation, you can, of course, get it there as well. All right, so downloading the software will provide you with this file right here. This is the guy. And you can see it's a zip file. It's just conveniently titled Release 93503. I've expanded that here so that we have a unzipped copy. And inside that, you'll find the release folder, and then you'll find our setup. And if you have a PDF reader, you can, of course, review the server guides and administrative guides. All right, so prior to getting started, a couple of things just for a little bit of housekeeping. I'm a little bit old-fashioned when it comes to where I keep my stuff. So, oh, look at that. I forgot to eject the CD. All right, so I'm a little old fashioned, and I do enjoy following similar procedures and standards from one server to another. So what I do is I create a build folder on the root of the C drive, and I take whatever I'm doing, any software I'm installing, and I just drop it in there. The reason I do that is just more of a courtesy for the next administrator, right? So if I leave or I'm not around or whatever, if somebody else has to come in behind me and sort of understand what the source files were that I used to install stuff, all they got to do is go in the build folder. I do actually put full ISOs in there. It sort of depends, right? So I know a lot of people will have central software repositories. That's fine. That's just how you do it. It's totally fine. This is completely subjective. It's just when I do small tool installs, I kind of do them right from the local system. All right. So to get started, we've gone ahead and run all of the updates. This has all the cumulative updates as of February 27th, which is today. So what we're going to do is we're just going to simply open up Server Manager and let's crack on with the installation. So we don't need that. We're going to go up here to manage, and we are going to add a role or feature. We'll skip that by default. So the only thing that we have to kind of add at this point is just we need to get the web services on here. So we're just going to do IIS, right? We're going to accept the defaults. You can see all I did was check that box there. We're going to select the defaults simply for the management tools and features. And then the rest of it is fairly straight. Keep everything else standard. So the solution that we're installing does require .NET 4.5 and does require CGI and a couple of other components. It's going to prompt us for those subcomponents as we get and start going through the install. Question I normally get for role services under IIS, what do I need to turn on and off? You don't need to do anything here. Just leave this alone. Keep the defaults. Next, and we normally don't need a restart for installation of IIS, but out of habit, I usually always check that box. So we are doing a live installation. And what that means for me is that I don't pause the video and regroup the video later. I like to make sure that folks that are watching this educational series, these educational videos, gets to see not only the product installation and all of the steps required, but you also get a good feeling for how long things are taking. I think that it's kind of an unwritten thing. Whenever I've watched educational videos for self learning and other stuff that I do, it's always good to to find an individual that doesn't pause and then at the beginning of an install and then come back 2 seconds later when it's all done. You don't realize that there's 3 minutes in the middle of that. And sometimes an administrator can get a little concerned and stop and restart an install because they think it got stuck or hung or whatever. This way, you guys know that this is generally how long things take. Now, just for perspective, the server that we're working on, um, this server has 4 virtual CPUs and 8 gigs of memory, and it's running on solid state storage on this particular host. With all and as you can see from the host itself, we still have quite a lot of room left when it comes to things like memory and CPU and networking. You can see we're only using 5%. This is on the whole host, not just on the virtual machine in the background. This is the whole host, right? I've only used 108 out of 256, and I've only got 6 or 5% utilized. So very low utilization. So what you're seeing here, and the reason that this is taking long is because it's doing stuff, right? It's not just sitting around idle. If we open up the task manager on this particular virtual machine and swing over to performance, you're going to see here, if we open up resource monitor, you might even see a little more, be able to get some disk activity in there. Yep, you can see the disk activity is high, right? It's doing a lot of read, write, verify, right? All right, so now that it's finished, we're going to start to see those numbers drop. We're going to go ahead and hit close here. We'll close all of this stuff up because we're done with that. And now we are ready for the implementation of the Secure Envoy, Secure Access, multi-factor stuff. So I'm just going to browse to my source files, and all I'm going to do is run setup. Now, important note, I am logged in as a local administrator. You don't always have to be, but if you are not, make sure that you're running this as an administrator. Okay, so you're going to want to right click and run as admin. All right. And we're going to accept the terms. Of course, you can, feel free to review at your discretion. You can keep the so here, for the purposes of these educational series videos, I'm going to be sticking with the defaults as often as possible. I think that's going to be 100% of the time. There just really isn't any reason for me to make any adjustments during the demo. But obviously, you can see that if you have an operating system on one volume and applications being installed on another, of course, you can change the installation path. I'm going to click on custom. I'm going to turn off well, that would be sort of hypocritical of what I just said. I'm going to keep all the defaults then. How's that? So we're going to hit install and we're going to hit next. All right, now the install is underway. Here we go. Copying all those new files over. All right, there's our admin icon. It's going to pop up and prompt me for Microsoft's .NET 4.5 and then some CGI components that we need, and then we're going to be off to the races. All right, so at this point, what we're going to be doing is creating a new dedicated server. This is, of course, going to be the first server that we've installed in the environment. You can have more than one. So this is the server that has the initial configuration and encryption keys and other things that are valuable to the environment. And then if you wanted to, you can install a secondary server, which we're going to do. And if we had more than one data center, we would install replica servers at those other data centers as well. So New dedicated server. We're going to hit continue. Take note that it creates this config.db. This includes a encryption key that you should back up. So make sure you back up this file as often as possible. All right, here goes the CGI module that we need. So remember that this process can take some time. It says several minutes and it says that for a reason. So make sure you don't interrupt it. Let this IIS module take its time to install and configure. All right, now that the CGI module is done, we're going to move on to the ASP .NET 4.5 module. So we're going to install that one as well. This will also take a significant bit of time. Make sure not to interrupt it. Let it finish. Again, it's one of the important reasons why I don't stop and restart these installation videos. It's important for you guys to be able to see how long some of these components take to get installed. Otherwise, if you were doing this for the first time in your environment, you might think this is broken or something is wrong, and you would, go into the task manager and kill the installer and then rerun it again, and not realizing that it's working. It literally takes a few minutes. All right. So now that the Microsoft.NET 4.5 installation is on and configured, it's going to go ahead and make some adjustments to the settings within IIS, and then we will be good to go. All right, so company name, you would have obviously registered your company name, so we're just going to put Secure Envoy Lab over there. And you would have been provided a license key during the download, so we're going to go ahead and put that in. And there we go. We are all finished. That completes the installation of the product on the server. It is now ready to go. So over here, of course, we have a local administrator icon, and we can go ahead and put this away. And you'll see that Secure Envoy under here. There's a couple of other things that our tool comes with, most notably the local administrator, the admin guide, of course, a deployment wizard, those types of things. For the purposes of this video, we're going to be going through the configuration of the solution. So let's open up the Secure Envoy local administrator. The first time you launch this, it'll take an extra second or two, but on subsequent launches, you'll see that it's pretty quick. The first page we drop you off at, of course, is the setup wizard. This is a wizard that is going to walk you through every step of the process of getting the environment stood up and ready. We're going to walk through all of the things, and that includes the domain, email settings, external URLs, gateways, radius services, and then complete. We're going to be walking through and using all of the basic, least amount of information possible. Once we've got it to a working state, then I'm going to be putting together informational videos on how to go back and make some adjustments to some of these areas that might better suit your environment. So let's go ahead and get started. First couple things we need a mail server and we need an LDAP environment. So let's go ahead and continue. Notice that it skipped over the licensing part because it kind of already knows that information. We entered that during the install. So now it's moving us on to our domain environment, our LDAP configuration. So down here, you can see that we've got this thing pre-configured for Microsoft's Active Directory on-premise. You can pick any of the other LDAP environments. A few things that we need to know. So over here, what I've done is I've pinged DC1. You can see that it comes back with an FQDN. That's because I have a DHCP server that puts me as a part of the DNS configuration as well. So the domain name here, the FQDN, so this is lab.local. And of course, the NetBIOS name version of it is lab. So let's get down here to the admin user ID. So what is an admin user? What do we need it for? This is the account that the Secure Envoy server will use to go and query the Active Directory and validate credentials. So let's take a look at an example. So using the information above, it gives us an example of administrator, which would be in the user's container on lab.local. What we've done differently is here's our user container, and what we've done is we created a service account for Secure Envoy service, so we don't have to use the actual admin. This is a extraordinarily restrictive account, and we're making a video later to show you the details on exactly how restrictive that is. But essentially, this is a read-only account. It's not a domain level administrator. So what we're going to do here then is, we're not going to do that, that's for sure. So what we're going to do here then is we are going to just simply back this up and use the account that we've created, right? And our password. And we're going to put our domain controllers in here. All right, so a couple things to notice. The first thing is I do not have a specific container sorted or organized for my service account. I'm going to come back and change that later. I'm going to move stuff around in my Active Directory. I'm also not using LDAP-S, right? Secure LDAP. We have a video coming on that as well, where we're going to show you how to set up, configure, validate, and then use Secure LDAP for the purposes of multi-factor authentication. So at this point, the goal really is just for me to hit test server, and I should see a positive result. There it is. So once we get the OK button, we're going to test our secondary server. That's perfect. So now what does that tell us? that tells us that all the information on the page is correct, and then we can continue. All right, so email settings. So we do need to send emails as a result of standard functions, either inviting users to come join multi-factor authentication, or maybe even sending out some alerts, those types of things. So what we're doing is we have our SMTP server. It's actually outside of the business. So smtp .us.e xg7.exghost.com. Of course, we do have a specific port, which is going to be 587 for secure SMTP traffic, using a certificate. And exg host, yep, that all looks correct. And the email that we're going to be using is system at SecurEnvoy-lab.com. And of course, authentication is required. So we're going to go ahead and plug in our stuff. I actually have to check that password and make sure that I got a good password in there. So let me go do that before I go forward, because I need to make sure that I am using the right password. All right, let's see. Log out of that. All right, cool. I do have the right password. Awesome. Always good to have the right password. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and test our mail server. See if we can actually send a message. All right, cool. That's how we know it works. All right, so yep. So we're going to continue forward. All right, now the external URLs, these are really the internal URLs for the moment, because as you can clearly see, there's a part of this URL that is just not resolvable from the outside. This will, at some point, we will be loading on an SSL certificate into IIS, and then once we've done that, we can come back and, of course, make some adjustments here to these URLs. For now, these will work, but only from the inside. I've got to be on the network in order to resolve these names. All right. So so country code, right? We need to make sure that if we're doing anything that requires us to send or receive text messaging, we need to make sure that we let the rest of the world kind of know where the server is. So we give it a country code. So that'll be a 1 in this case. Hard to see here, but rest assured I'm in that field, and I'm putting a 1. Going to update that here. You'll also notice that the system comes with some trials for both AQL and CM. Some are restricted, some are not restricted, and of course, voice, push, other gateways that are available to us. These are all of the ways that the server is able to communicate with users, and they're able to communicate back. I'll close that window. So for now, we're gonna. I actually have an account on AQL, but I'm not going to use it here. This account is perfectly fine. It gives us 30 days or whatever and 100 messages for free. So this is totally fine. I'm going to show you in another video how to go ahead and set up your account at a provider, and of course how to put that information here. So for now, we're going to hit continue because those are working. So radius, typical port for radius is 1812. So this is the standard radius port, and we're not going to change that. So we're going to keep that there. So now what's happening is the services are getting installed and started, And you can see the batch service, web SMS, and radius services will come up, and that will complete the process of getting us installed. So then we'll hit continue, and we're finished all the way through. We've done all these things. So we went over the intro, the license. We went and did our domain stuff, our Active Directory, specified our email account details. We've reviewed the external URLs. We kept the defaults for the SMS voice gateways, kept the defaults for radius. The services fired up just fine, and the system is now complete. So go to dashboard, and the dashboard will show you now. This Apple push service sometimes does take a minute to get connected and communicate with Apple, but rest assured it will come up. If we go back and forth and just refresh the page a time or two, you'll find that in a couple of minutes that's going to come up just fine. So let's get a walk through the environment a little bit. So this is the primary dashboard. These are all of the different methods in which the user community is authenticating to the system. So this will give you kind of a good bird's eye view of what's happening, how many successes, fails, and which methods are most popular. You can review all of this data by either 7, 14, or 30 days. And right here in the center left, you're going to find the last 10 events in the logs. And of course, you can view the full log here. On the right-hand side, as you can see, the Apple push service finally came up. Under the gateway status, these are all of your outbound services. Now, the Google Cloud messaging will probably never come up on a green status because Google has actually recently decommissioned that service. They now call it Google's Firebase. So this one is up. This one is permanently off. You can manage the gateways here. Down here in the lower part of the left, you'll find all of our service status. Of course, they're all running and in good health. You can restart them here if you like. On the right-hand side, this is your LDAP connectivity status, and you can see that those two are green and good to go. No LDAP secure just yet. Down here at the bottom, of course, is a chart over the last, well, 7 days in this case, or 30 if you wanted to increase that. You can see results for the last 30 days. This will show you in blue and red sort of a graph of the number of authentications, both successful and unsuccessful, that you're having throughout certain periods of the month or week. This will definitely help you with some troubleshooting. So that is the full installation of the product as it stands right now, and that's it. That's all it really takes. So you guys in roughly 30 minutes, and a lot of chip chap, right? So within 30 minutes, we've gone ahead and installed and configured the Secure Envoy Secure Access multi-factor authentication product. Uh, Additional videos are going to be going through feature reviews, service account creation, IIS and SSL certificates, all of the little nuts and bolts details that'll be much shorter in duration for you guys. This is the big video. This is where we do the big install. All the other subsequent videos are going to be significantly shorter in time. So anyway, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Thanks for learning. And we'll go ahead and see you in the next video.